Hey, fam. What's going with everybody? Hope all is well with you guys. Listen, I wanted to just come on. I had to just get out and take a drive. As I was coming back, I stopped down at the store. We needed some ketchup. So I stopped and get some ketchup. Well, we had ketchup, but somebody whose name I won't mention liked to keep the ketchup in the refrigerator, and I don't like cold ketchup, but that's a whole nother subject. You know, you got to compromise when you live with people. Somebody know what I'm talking about. And so when I went down to the store, I ran into one of the brothers. I hadn't seen him in a while, actually a couple of years. I know it had to be a year or two before COVID. And hey, Dad, what's happening? And we were talking, and he said to me, he said, man, Bishop, I was about to go do something stupid, but I didn't change my mind, man, since I done talked to you. Thank you for keeping it real. And on my way back to the house, what dawns on me is that one of the things that we seek to escape, or see if I can kind of drown that noise out. One of the things we seek to escape a lot of times from as believers is that we seek to escape the benefit and the blessing of being real. And I think we escape it for one or two reasons, and then I'll tell you the benefit that I just experienced. And I guess it's always around. I think I just saw it for the first time today. Oh, the Lord opened my eyes afresh to it, because sometimes he does that. Those of y'all who are students of scriptures know what I mean. You can look at a passage and have read it a million times and then go back at it, and the Lord will open your eyes afresh and anew. So I want to share that with you. But let me tell you, as I was thinking about this thing of the benefits of being real, let me tell you why I think it's a problem for us. I think one of the reasons why we struggle with being real is because I think we're married to a ignorant image of what it means to be a Christian. And I say an ignorant image because somewhere down the line, we figured that being a child of God meant you would do everything right. And we've put this space between us and the world by limiting it just to behavior. When in actuality, the difference between the believer and the person in the world is our mentality, because our mind is renewed. And we are, excuse me, y'all. Our minds are renewed. And as our minds are renewed, our lives live out what we understand as sanctification. We live out the life God intends for us to live as children of God. But that happens because our mentality is different. It doesn't happen because we're not tempted. It doesn't happen because we're not going through the same struggles as other people struggle, as other people do. It doesn't happen because we at times don't fall. The difference is that we seek to handle problems and deal with issues and problems and temptations different than those who don't know Jesus. Making any sense to you? So sometimes, y'all, the reason why we're not real is because the ignorant image that we have of being a child of God. It is not perfection. It is progress or maturity. It's not saying I got it all together. It's saying that because of Jesus, I have an opportunity now to get it the way God wanted it to be. And with his help, this is going to happen. But when you think being a Christian in any context, as a bishop, deacon, when you think that's about you being perfect, you got an ignorant image. And so what you start doing is You become holy to people when you hiding. Not hiding, but when you hiding. When you hide, and I'm not saying, and people, say a lot of times, talking about, I ain't telling people all my business. I'm not talking about exposing every aspect of your life. I'm not talking about you being just open and out there and doing things that will cause people to stumble. Of course not. If you're maturing, you know the difference between things that need to be private. When I'm saying our everyday life, how we live, some of us are tied to an ignorant image of what it means to be a Christian. For some of us, we can't even greet people with a regular good morning. It has to be a whole church slogan. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing that. I'm saying if you think that's what makes you a Christian or makes people think you're a Christian. No, those are words. But how you handle the problems how do you handle the problems when they arise at work? When there's some stuff going on, how do you deal with that? That proves your Christianity. So we're not afraid, or we're afraid of being real because we have this ignorant image of Christianity. But then the second thing, y'all, I think we're afraid to be real because I think we want respect. No. I think we want a sense of reverence or a sense of recognition more than we want relationship with people. I think we, at times, can be so engulfed with this, and it's tied to this ignorant image we have of Christianity. But I think, and I'm putting my words together, y'all, because this just happened to me less than 15 minutes ago. And what the guy said, messed me up in a good way. And I started thinking about this. We have this mentality at times, and it's not of God. It's just, I think, the culture we grew in, the context in which we were raised, that spiritually, people have to see us on a different level than them. If this is making sense to anybody, because it really touched me, and I'm gonna try to keep from crying, because I know I get slack, and I get slack from my peers. I get slack from other preachers that sometimes they say, well, Clark, man, you do too much. But I saw the benefits of being real. I think sometimes, y'all, we want people to look at us different, not so that our lives can be attracted and they know Jesus. I think sometimes we want people to look at us different so they can hold us in high esteem, because we're rather people to have a reverence for us than a relationship with people. And again, I'm not talking about not having your privacy. I'm talking about not having the mindset and the demeanor that you're untouchable. No, you can't. No, that's not it. So what's the benefit, Bishop? You said the reason why we don't is because of this ignorant imagination or image we have, root word of imagination, image we have of Christianity. 2, we'd rather people reverence us than to have real relationship with people. What's the benefit of being real? Here it is. When you are real, R.E.A.L, you allow, you ready for it? You allow relationships, you become relatable through your experiences where anybody learns. You relate, aura, your experience, E, where anybody, A.L, can learn. If the job is to teach people, if our job as believers is to live a life where people are convinced, if our job as believers is to point people to the Lord Jesus Christ, we can't do that if we cannot relate. And we will never be able to relate to people if we want them to see us better than them. It's not going to happen. Now, you'll get their respect and they will admire you, but it won't be your life that changes them. And they'll meet somebody and they'll make reference to you, and because you become the standard that they're trying to live up to. No. And that's not to degrade, or not to neglect, rather, our responsibility to be an example. We are an example, but we're an example of growth, not perfection. And that's not a license to sin. Don't nobody need no license. They've been sinning fine without one. It's not a license to sin. That's a reality to embrace, and through the help of the Lord, grow to a greater sense of maturity. I hope I'm helping some. Man, this thing touched me. He said, he said, I was about to go do something stupid, but I'm not going to do it because I ran into you. Thank you for keeping it real. Now that's me going to pick up some ketchup with my hat to the back, my glasses on, and I was listening. I like Bobby Womack. That's how I pulled up on him. Not Kirk Franklin, not Shirley Caesar, but Bobby Womack. And he says, when we start talking, and in the conversation, I shared things with him, and, you know, I don't want to go into detail about it, but I was real. And I thought about how many people that we are not reaching because we've been so concerned about them having a certain kind of reverence for us, as opposed to building relationship. One of the brothers from Tuesday night asked me a question, and all of this came together. Why is there a hierarchy in the kingdom? And of course, I explained to him what the Bible says in terms of how heaven looks from John's revelation and that he writes there, the last book of our New Testament. I talked to him about that. But when I found out why he asked that, because he thought, based upon how the church is set up, wait a minute. Based upon how we've ran church, this brother not thinks that there are certain spiritual levels. No, there are certain platform and seats for people in the kingdom. Come on, y'all. Come on. He says, thank you for keeping it real. Because when we are real, people can relate to our experience. We won't tell them our experience if we're afraid that they're going to not think we saved, because we're honest. We ain't going to help them. Anybody. Because you're a human being, I'm a human being. Because you love God and you're seeking to yield to the Spirit on a daily basis so you can live for Him, I'm seeking the same thing. Then guess what? The experience we go through, the issues we deal with, the calamities that comes with our lives, them people go through that too, who don't know Jesus Christ. And when I'm able to relate through my experiences, then anybody, black, white. Let me confess something to you all. Coming from the South, and it was just my naivety. It wasn't because of what I saw. Well, I think it was what I saw, but more importantly, how I interpret what I saw. It wasn't because I didn't have experiences. I think maybe because of the context in which I live. And my confession is, for a long time in my ministry, I didn't think that what I was teaching about was relatable to any other race other than black people. Until I started realizing that the problems that the people I was preaching to were going through, other folk of other races were going through. And then the Lord blessing to be on the radio with Big Sister Tink. And y'all pray we're going to try to get something together real soon. And then realized there were listeners from all over the Bay. I realized, and it brought to mind what Dr. Craig Adams says, and that is people can identify more with your failures than they can your success. So there's some benefits of keeping it real. No, again, and I can't say this enough, I'm not talking about exposing all of your business. I'm saying being honest that you got some. I'm not saying you not having a level of privacy. No, you got to. You need to. It's important. There are some things that are between you and God and you and your family. I'm not talking about transparency with things that are necessarily intimate or that are genuinely intimate. But I'm saying being open to let folk know that they ain't alone with what they go through. It's being real, not wrong, not unrighteous, but real. And I think, y'all, we ought to come out of COVID with that mentality. We ought to come out of COVID as believers with that mentality. And for those of you all who are not followers of Jesus Christ, and for those of you all who are, how can I say it? You have criticism about the hypocrisy of the church. Let me say to you, we sorry. We really are. We're sorry for ever making you think that the stuff that bothers you does not bother us. When we should have told you the stuff that bothers you is the same stuff that bothers us. But because of Jesus, we're able to deal with it a little better when we're listening. But then sometimes we ain't listening, and that's when you see us handle stuff just like you, and you claim and know that you don't know God like we say we do it. We apologize, but there's a remnant of us. There's a remnant of us who are no longer afraid of what people gonna think or what people gonna say, but gonna live for Jesus out loud in a very real way. Because we gonna understand, I'm trying to see the comments, I can't see them without my glasses. Because we understand that it ain't about what you say about me. It's about what you know and how close you're getting because of the Jesus I say I represent. Apologize. And then for those of you all who are unsaved, and the reason why you say, oh no, you're saved and you are, real judgmental. So judgmental that if people don't think the way you think, if they don't worship the way you worship, if they don't flow like you flow, then you got a problem with them. Here's what I would say to you. I think it would probably be real good if you studied the life of Jesus. Maybe leave the Old Testament alone for a minute. Don't spend much time in Acts and Romans, and all that's the Bible. All of it's inspired. But maybe you need to spend some time reading the life of Jesus, and just not from your denomination, not from the context of your church experience, but just look at his life and pay attention to one thing. Pay attention to how he dealt with people. Pay attention. I'm not asking you to pay attention to how they treated him. I'm not asking you to pay attention to who didn't like him, who was against him. Pay attention to how he treated people. And I promise you, if you pay attention to how Jesus treated people, Jesus didn't compromise. But man, couldn't he relate? Jesus did not share everything. There were times he came apart to pray by himself. So there were times when he was private and intimate. But ain't it amazing all the stuff he exposed to them? Some stuff they didn't. He said stuff that was so transparent, like, I and the Father are one. If you've seen God, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Come on, man. You can't get no more transparent than that. He shared his experience. And anybody, come on, man, sister, anybody can be helped by what Jesus taught and how Jesus lived. I'm not talking, we're not even looking at Genesis and Malachi, and they are the inspired word of God. We're not looking at Acts through Revelation. We just focusing right on them first 4 books. And all we're paying attention to is how Jesus dealt with people. Man, anybody from, watch this, a super religious, morally ethical right fella like Nicodemus, to a no good, low down, fast woman, as the old folks say in the South, as the woman at the well, to a rich fella who got it from hustling and doing dirty business like Matthew, to a fisherman like Peter. Come on, anybody could learn from Jesus. Now, if Jesus lived in such a way where everybody could learn from him, folk who were religious as well as not non-religious, folk who were educated and uneducated, if they could all learn, whether they grasped, held on to it, accepted, if he was able to communicate and reach everybody, then here's my question. Why aren't we having that same effect? Probably is because we're not trying to be like him. We may be trying to be like an ignorant image we have of him and what he represents. Or we may try to be like him in a sense of wanting people to have reverence as opposed to having relationship, which is not him at all. Those are my thoughts. Shout out to my brother. I wish I would have gotten your permission. And if next time I talk to you, you got my number. And if you see this, man, I want you to know, thank you for confirming. And you have no idea that you confirmed in my heart and my mind what God has called Keith Lee Clark to do. And that's to be real. Thank you, my brother. I hope you get this message and you reach out to me so I can put your name in the comment. Thank you, my brother. And to every child of God, you know you're saved. But you've been wondering, listen, I hear all of this kind of stuff. Can God really use me? Do I have what it takes? And yes, you do. You have what it takes, and yes, he can use you if you're willing. And that don't have to look like nobody else. Man, don't have to look like nobody else. Y'all be encouraged today. Thank y'all for letting me get that off my chest. Now I'm going to get ready to see my Saints beat them Buccaneers. All right. Y'all remember, you're live. You're important.